Wealthy hotel heir Damien Westwood never cared for the struggles of others, until one stormy night when he offers shelter to a defiant homeless woman. Zara Monroe challenges everything he believes, igniting a passion that defies their worlds. But can love bridge the gap between them? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Rain pounded against the windows of the Westwood Grand Hotel, one of the most luxurious hotels in the city. Inside the penthouse suite, Damien Westwood stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking down at the wet streets below. At 38, he had everything a man could want: money, power, and respect. His dark hair was perfectly styled, and his custom-made suit fit his tall frame perfectly. As heir to the Westwood hotel chain, Damien had never known struggle. He lived by simple rules: work hard, show no weakness, and never get too involved. With people's problems, they were either winners or losers in life, and he was definitely a winner. "Mr. Westwood, the board meeting is scheduled for tomorrow at 9 a.m., said his assistant Rebecca as she handed him a folder. "And Ms. Collins called again about the charity gala next week." Damien waved his hand dismissively. "Tell Vanessa I'll think about it." He had been dating Vanessa Collins on and off for 6 months, but lately he found himself growing bored of her company. She was beautiful, well-connected, and from a good family. Exactly the type of woman someone in his position was expected to date, yet something was missing. "Will that be all for tonight, sir?" Rebecca asked. "Yes, thank you. You can go home now." After his assistant left, Damien poured himself a glass of whiskey and returned to the window. The rain had gotten worse, and the streets were nearly empty except for a few unfortunate souls rushing to find shelter. His eyes caught movement across the street. A hotel security guard was arguing with someone, a woman sitting huddled under a small awning. Even from this distance, Damien could see the guard's angry gestures as he forced her to leave her makeshift shelter. "Not my problem," Damien muttered, taking another sip of his drink. He had donated to homeless charities before. It was good. Publicity. But he never got personally involved. Yet something about the woman's defiant posture as she gathered her few belongings made him keep watching. She stood up straight, faced the security guard, and said something that made the man step back. Despite her situation, she had pride. Damien was still watching when she stepped out into the pouring rain. Her clothes were soaked within seconds, but she held her head high as she walked away. Before he knew what he was doing, Damien grabbed his phone. "John, there's a woman who just left the building across the street. Dark hair, wearing a green jacket. Bring her to the hotel entrance. Tell her Mr. Westwood would like to speak with her." 10 minutes later, his hotel manager called back. "Sir, we found the woman you described, but she's refusing to come inside. She says she's not interested in whatever you're selling." Damien frowned. This was unexpected. "I'll come down myself." In the marble lobby of the Westwood Grand, Damien spotted her immediately. She stood near the entrance, dripping water onto the polished floor. His security staff kept a careful distance, unsure what to do with this unusual visitor. Up close, he could see she was younger than he'd thought, probably in her late 20s. Her dark hair was plastered to her face from the rain, but even in her wet, disheveled state, he noticed her striking features. "I'm Damien Westwood," he said, approaching her, "owner of this hotel." The woman met his gaze without flinching. "Zara Monroe, and I didn't ask to be brought here." Her directness surprised him. People usually tried to impress him, not challenge him. "I saw the security guard force you to leave," Damien explained. "It's a terrible night to be outside." Zara raised an eyebrow. "So the rich guy in the penthouse felt sorry for the homeless woman. How charitable." Her voice dripped with sarcasm. Several hotel guests turned to stare. Damien wasn't used to being spoken to this way, especially not in his own hotel. "Look," he said, lowering his voice, "I'm just offering you a chance to get warm and dry. You can use the shower in my suite, get some dry clothes, and have a hot meal. No strings attached." Zara studied him suspiciously. Why would you do that for a stranger? It was a good question. One Damien wasn't entirely sure he had an answer for. "Let's just say I'm having an unusual moment of generosity. Take it or leave it." After a long pause, Zara nodded. "Fine, but just to be clear, this is just a shower and a meal. I'm not looking for anything else. Oh, of course not, Damien replied, slightly offended by the implication. This way. The ride up in the private elevator was silent and awkward. Damien noticed how Zara kept her distance, standing in the corner with her small backpack clutched to her chest. She was trying to avoid dripping on the expensive carpet, but failing. When they entered his penthouse suite, Zara stopped in the doorway, her eyes widening as she took in the luxurious space. The bathroom is through there, Damien said, pointing to a door. You'll find everything you need. I'll have some clothes brought up for you. Thank you, Zara said stiffly, still clearly uncomfortable with the situation. While she showered, Damien called room service for a hot meal and had his assistant arrange for some women's clothing to be brought up from the hotel boutique. He told himself this was simply a good deed, nothing more. He'd help this woman tonight and tomorrow she'd be gone. End of story. But when Zara emerged from the bathroom 45 minutes later, Damien felt like someone had knocked the air from his lungs. With the dirt and weariness washed away, her true beauty was revealed. Her dark hair fell in damp waves past her shoulders, and her skin glowed under the soft lighting. She wore the hotel's plush white robe, cinched tightly at her waist. But it was her eyes that caught him, deep brown and filled with a fire that spoke of both strength and vulnerability. She wasn't just pretty, she was stunning. The clothes you sent are beautiful, Zara said, but I can't accept them. They must have cost a fortune. Damien cleared his throat, trying to regain his composure. It's nothing. Consider it hotel hospitality. No one gets this kind of hospitality without expecting something in return, she said bluntly. I told you. No strings attached, Damien replied, gesturing toward the dining table where the food had been set up. Please eat while it's hot. Zara hesitated, then took a seat. The moment she saw the spread of steak, vegetables, and fresh bread, her resolve weakened. She hadn't had a proper meal in days. Damien sat across from her, watching as she tried to eat slowly and maintain her dignity despite her obvious hunger. So, he said, pouring her a glass of water, how did you end up on the street? Zara looked up, her expression guarded. That's a rather personal question from someone I just met. Fair enough, Damien conceded. Let me start then. I'm Damien. Westwood, 38, never married. I inherited this hotel chain from my father 5 years ago when he retired. I work too much, according to my friends, and I'm told I can be difficult to deal with. A small smile appeared on Zara's lips. That last part, I believe. For some reason, her teasing didn't bother him the way it should have. Instead, he found himself smiling back. Your turn, he said. Zara sighed. I'm 27. I was a nursing student until last year when my mother got sick. Cancer. I dropped out to care for her, used up all my savings on her treatments. After she died, I couldn't catch up on the rent. That was 3 months ago. She said it, matter-of-factly, without seeking pity. I'm sorry about your mother, Damien said quietly. Zara nodded in acknowledgement. Life happens. Some people just have better safety nets than others. Her words struck him. He'd never thought about his life that way, as having a safety net that others lacked. What about family, friends, he asked. My mother was all I had. And friends. She shrugged. Most people aren't equipped to help someone in my situation. It gets awkward fast. As they continued talking, Damien was surprised by how easily the conversation flowed. Zara was intelligent and well-spoken. She challenged his opinions and didn't seem intimidated by his wealth or status. It was refreshing. Hours passed without either of them noticing. It was only when Zara yawned that Damien realized how late it had gotten. You must be tired, he said. You can take the guest bedroom tonight. Zara shook her head. You've done enough. I can't stay here. It's after midnight and still pouring rain. Where will you go? When she didn't answer, he knew he was right. She had nowhere to go. Just for tonight, Damien insisted. Tomorrow we can figure something else out. Finally, she agreed, though her reluctance was obvious. In the morning, Damien woke earlier than usual. He had a strange feeling in his chest, something unfamiliar that he couldn't quite name. For the first time in years, he was actually looking forward to breakfast, because she would be there. But when he entered the kitchen, he found a note on the counter instead. Thank you for your kindness." The clothes and meal were more than enough. Zara, she was gone. Damien felt an unexpected pang of disappointment. He picked up the note, noticing her neat handwriting. Something made him tuck it into his pocket, instead of throwing it away. At his office later that morning, Damien couldn't concentrate on work. Images of Zara kept appearing in his mind, her defiant stance in the rain, her surprised expression when she saw his penthouse, the way her eyes lit up when she laughed at something he said. "Mr. Westwood?" Rebecca's voice interrupted his thoughts. "Ms. Collins is on line 1. "Tell her I'm in a meeting," he said automatically. Rebecca looked surprised. Vanessa Collins was not someone he usually avoided. "Also," Damien added, "I need you to find someone for me. A woman named Zara Monroe, 27 years old, former nursing student. Her mother died of cancer last year." "May I ask why, sir?" Damien hesitated. "She could left something important behind. I need to return it to her." It was a lie, and from Rebecca's expression, she knew it too. But she nodded and left to do as he asked. For the next 3 days, Damien went through the motions of his usual life: meetings, business calls, dinner with investors. But something had changed. The luxuries he'd always taken for granted now seemed excessive. The people in his social circle felt shallow. He couldn't stop thinking about Zara. On the 4th day, Rebecca entered his office with a file. "I found her, sir. Zara Monroe has been staying at the downtown women's shelter for the past 2 nights. Damien took the file, his heart racing inexplicably. "Thank you, Rebecca." "There's something else," Rebecca added. "She's got a job interview tomorrow at St. Martin's Hospital for an administrative position." Damien nodded. "Clear my schedule for tomorrow afternoon." That night, Damien sat in his penthouse, looking out at the city lights. The same view that had always represented his success now reminded him of how isolated he was. He had everything money could buy, but when was the last time he'd had a conversation as real as the one with Zara? He picked up his phone and called the director of St. Martin's Hospital, who owed him a favor after Damien's generous donation last year. "Mark, it's Damien Westwood. I need to discuss something with you. It's about a job candidate you're interviewing tomorrow." The next day, Damien waited in his car outside St. Martin's Hospital. He told himself he was just checking to make sure Zara got the job, a job he'd secretly arranged for her to get. It wasn't interference, he reasoned. It was helping someone deserving. When he saw her walking out of the building, her face lit up with a smile. He knew she'd received the good news. She was wearing the clothes from his hotel boutique, looking professional and confident. Damien got out of his car intending to congratulate her, but before he could approach, his phone rang. It was Vanessa. "Damien, darling, where have you been hiding? Everyone's asking if you're coming to the charity gala tonight." While he was distracted by the call, Zara noticed him. Their eyes met across the parking lot. Her smile faded, replaced by a look of confusion. She walked toward him as he ended the call. "Were you waiting for me?" she asked. "I was in the area," Damien lied. "How did the interview go?" Zara's expression turned suspicious. "Surprisingly well, almost too well. The position suddenly included housing assistance and a salary higher than advertised." Damien tried to look innocent, but he'd never been good at hiding things. "You did something, didn't you?" she asked, her voice hardening. "You called them, made sure they hired me." "I just put in a good word," Damien admitted. "Is that so wrong?" Zara's face flushed with anger. "Yes, it is. I don't need your charity or your pity. I wanted that job because I earned it, not because some rich guy pulled strings." "That's not what I thought you were different," she interrupted. "That night in your hotel, you actually listened to me. You seemed to understand. But this?" She gestured toward the hospital. "This is just you thinking you can fix my life with your money and connections. Zara, please, no." She stepped back. "Thank you for the shower and the meal, but please, stay out of my life." As she walked away, Damien felt something he rarely experienced: helplessness. All his money, all his power, and he couldn't make this one woman see that he wasn't trying to buy her. He just wanted to help. But as he watched her disappear around the corner, he realized the truth. This wasn't just about helping someone in need. He was drawn to Zara in a way he couldn't explain. Her strength, her honesty, her pride. She made him question everything he thought he knew about life and people, and now she wanted nothing to do with him. That evening, Damien stood in his tuxedo at the charity gala, surrounded by the city's elite. Vanessa clung to his arm, chattering about who was wearing what and the latest society gossip. None of it interested him. "Damien, are you even listening to me?" Vanessa asked, clearly annoyed. "I'm sorry, I have a lot on my mind," he replied. "Is it that homeless woman? Rebecca told me you had her tracked down." Vanessa's tone was disapproving. "Really, Damien, you can't save every stray that crosses your path." Her words angered him. "She's not a stray, Vanessa. She's a person with a name, Zara." Vanessa's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose in surprise. "My goodness, you actually care about her." She laughed lightly. "How quaint. When you're done with your little charity project, give me a call." As Vanessa walked away, Damien realized she was right about one thing. He did care about Zara, but she wasn't a charity project. She was the first person in years who made him feel something real. He left the gala early, driving aimlessly through the city streets. As rain began to fall again, he found himself near St. Martin's Hospital. Without planning to, he pulled into the parking lot. Damien sat in his car watching the hospital entrance. He didn't know what he was doing there or what he hoped to accomplish, but he couldn't go home. Not yet. As the rain fell harder, he saw her, Zara, leaving the hospital after what must have been orientation for her new job. She had no umbrella, and she pulled her jacket tight around her as she started walking toward the bus stop. Damien got out of his car and called her name. She turned, surprise clear on her face, when she saw him standing in the rain in his tuxedo. "What are you doing?" "Here?" she asked when he reached her. "I don't know," he answered honestly. "I just needed to see you." They stood facing each other as the rain soaked them both. Damien's expensive tuxedo was ruined, but he didn't care. "I'm sorry about the job," he said. "You're right. I shouldn't have interfered. It's just, I couldn't stop thinking about you after you left." Zara's expression softened slightly. "Why? You don't even know me." "But I want to," Damien said. "Not because I feel sorry for you, because you're the most real person I've met in years." A bus pulled up to the stop nearby. Zara glanced at it, then back at Damien. "I have to go," she said. Damien nodded, trying to hide his disappointment. "I understand." As she turned to leave, Zara paused. "For what it's worth, I haven't stopped thinking about you either, and that scares me." Before he could respond, she hurried to catch the bus, leaving Damien standing alone in the rain. But for the first time in days, he felt hope, because she'd thought about him too. 2 weeks passed since the rainy night when Damien had stood soaking wet in his tuxedo, watching Zara's bus pull away. He hadn't tried to contact her again. As much as he wanted to see her, he knew he needed to respect her space. If she wanted to see him, she would reach out, but she didn't. Damien threw himself into work, spending long hours at the office reviewing expansion plans for the Westwood hotel chain. His executive team noticed the change in him. He was more distracted, less patient in meetings, and often staring out the window, lost in thought. "Damien, are you with us?" asked Richard Hayes, his chief financial officer, during a budget meeting. Damien blinked, returning his attention to the conference room. "Yes, continue." After the meeting, his assistant Rebecca lingered behind. "Sir, you've been different lately. Is everything all right?" Damien straightened the papers on the table. "I'm fine. Just tired? If you don't mind me saying so, you haven't been the same since you met that woman, Zara Monroe." Damien looked up sharply. Rebecca had worked for him for 5 years, and in that time, she'd never been this direct. "That's none of your business," he said stiffly. Rebecca nodded. "Of course, sir, but—" She hesitated. "If you're wondering, she started working at St. Martin's Hospital last week, administrative assistant in the oncology department." Despite himself, Damien felt a rush of hope. "How do you know that?" "I have a friend who works there." Rebecca smiled slightly. "She says Miss Monroe is doing very well. The patients love her." Damien nodded, trying to appear only mildly interested. "Thank you, Rebecca." After she left, Damien sat alone in the conference room. He'd thought about Zara every day since their last meeting. Something about her had gotten under his skin in a way no woman ever had before. It wasn't just her beauty, though she was beautiful. It was her honesty, her dignity despite her circumstances, and the way she saw right through his wealth to the man beneath. His phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. It was Vanessa. "Damien, darling, are you still sulking? It's been 2 weeks since you left me at the gala." "I wasn't feeling well," he lied. "I've been busy with work." "Too busy to return my calls?" Vanessa's voice was sharp. "People are talking. You know, wondering if we've broken up." Damien sighed. "Maybe we should take a break, Vanessa. I have a lot going on right now." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "This is about that homeless woman, isn't it?" "Her name is Zara," Damien said automatically. Vanessa laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Oh my God, you're serious about her. Have you lost your mind? What would people say if they knew Damien Westwood was chasing after some charity case?" Her words ignited a spark of anger in him. "Don't call her that. You don't know her." "Neither do you," Vanessa snapped. "Wake up, Damien. She's probably just after your money." "No, that's your specialty," Damien replied coldly. "Goodbye, Vanessa." He hung up, feeling both relieved and unsettled. Ending things with Vanessa had been surprisingly easy, but her words had struck a nerve. What did he really know about Zara? And what could possibly come of his feelings for her? They were from completely different worlds. The next morning, Damien found himself driving to St. Martin's Hospital. He told himself he was just going to check on the children's wing that his family foundation had helped fund, but he knew the real reason. He parked his car and entered the hospital, nodding at the staff who recognized him from previous charity events. As he walked through the oncology department, his eyes scanned for Zara, and then he saw her. She was at the nurse's station, her dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She wore simple navy blue scrubs and was focused on the computer in front of her. Even in the harsh hospital lighting, she was stunning. Damien stood watching her for a moment, struck by how natural she looked here. This was her world, helping, people, making a difference. So different from his life of luxury and business deals. Just as he was debating whether to approach her, Zara looked up and saw him. Surprise registered on her face, followed by wariness. She stood and walked over to him, keeping her voice low. "What are you doing here, Damien?" "I was checking on the children's wing. My family foundation made a donation last year." It wasn't a complete lie. Zara crossed her arms. "Right, and it's just a coincidence that you ended up in the oncology department." Damien smiled slightly. "Maybe not entirely." A small group of hospital staff walked by, looking curiously at them. Zara shifted uncomfortably. "I can't talk now," she said. "I'm working." "When do you get off?" Damien asked. "I'd like to talk to you." "Just talk," he added quickly. "No strings attached." Zara hesitated, then sighed. "I finish at 6, but I need to get home to check on my new apartment." "New apartment?" Damien asked, pleased that she was no longer at the shelter. "Yes, part of the job benefits. It's small, but it's mine." Pride flickered across her face. "Let me drive you there after your shift," Damien offered. "Please, just a ride and a chance to talk." Zara looked at him for a long moment. "Fine. I'll meet you in the main lobby at 6. For the rest of the day, Damien couldn't concentrate on anything. He cancelled his afternoon meetings and wandered around the hospital, making small talk with staff and patients. At exactly 6 o'clock, he was waiting in the lobby, feeling strangely nervous. Zara appeared right on time, looking tired but composed. She had changed out of her scrubs into jeans and a simple blouse. "Ready?" Damien asked. She nodded, and they walked to his car in awkward silence. As they reached his sleek black Mercedes, Zara paused. "This isn't exactly a low-profile vehicle," she commented. Damien shrugged. "It's just a car." "A car that costs more than most people make in a year," Zara replied, but she got in anyway. As they drove, Damien finally broke the silence. "How's the new job going?" Zara seemed to relax slightly. "It's good. Challenging, but in the right ways. The oncology department can be emotionally difficult, but it's where I wanted to be after my mum. You're making a difference there, Damien said. I can tell. She gave him a curious look. You barely know me. I'm a good judge of character, he replied. Usually. A small smile touched her lips. Turn left at the next light. My building is on Pine Street. Damien followed her directions, noting that they were entering a modest neighborhood, not dangerous, but certainly not luxurious. Pine Street was lined with older apartment buildings that had seen better days. That one, Zara, pointed to a red brick building. Number 1520. Damien parked in front of the building. It looked clean but worn, with a small stoop leading to the entrance. Would you like to come up? Zara asked, surprising him. It's not much, but I could make coffee. Damien tried not to appear too eager. I'd like that. Zara's apartment was on the 3rd floor. The elevator was out of order, so they took the stairs. When she unlocked her door, Damien wasn't sure what to expect. The apartment was tiny. Just one room with a kitchenette in the corner, plus what must be a bathroom through another door. But Zara had made it homey. There were a few second-hand pieces of furniture, a small bookshelf filled with books and a plant on the windowsill. Everything was meticulously clean. It's nice, Damien said, and meant it. The space reflected Zara's personality, modest but dignified. Zara smiled, recognizing his sincerity. It's a palace compared to where I was a month ago. She moved to the kitchenette. Have a seat. I'll make that coffee. Damien sat on the small sofa while Zara prepared the coffee. He noticed a framed photo on the side table, Zara with an older woman who had the same striking eyes. Is that your mother? He asked. Zara looked over and nodded. Yes. That was taken about a year before she got sick. She brought 2 mugs of coffee and sat beside him, leaving a careful distance between them. You look like her, Damien said. Everyone says that. Zara's voice softened. She was the strongest person I've ever known. Single mom, worked 2 jobs most of my life, never complained. She raised an impressive daughter, Damien said quietly. Zara looked at him, her expression unreadable. Why are you here, Damien? Really? He took a deep breath. Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. I know it sounds crazy, we barely know each other, but there's something about you that... He struggled to find the right words. You make me see the world differently. Zara set her coffee. Vanessa, I think you're just fascinated by how the other half lives. I'm like an exotic exhibit to you, the strong-willed poor girl who doesn't fall at your feet. That's not true, Damien protested. Isn't it? Zara challenged. What could you possibly want from me that isn't about novelty or charity? Damien leaned forward, his eyes intense. I want to know you, Zara, the real you, not as a charity case or a novelty, but as a woman who challenged every assumption I've ever had. A woman who sees past my wealth to my flaws, a woman who made me feel more alive in one conversation than I've felt in years. Zara's expression softened, but she still looked skeptical. And what happens when the novelty wears off? When you realize that my life is about working hard just to pay bills, not attending galas and making business deals? I don't know, Damien admitted honestly, but I'd like the chance to find out. Zara looked at him for a long moment, then shook her head. I can't, Damien. Our worlds are too different. You may think you want something real now, but eventually you'll go back to your world and I'll just be a memory. Your walk on the wild side. Damien felt a surge of frustration. You're making assumptions about me just like I did about you when we first met. How is that fair? His words seemed to hit home. Zara looked away, her shoulders sagging slightly. You're right. I'm sorry. They sat in silence for a moment, the tension between them shifting into something more complex. Tell me about your day, Damien said suddenly. Not the sanitized version, the real one. Zara looked surprised, then thoughtful. Well, I spent 2 hours updating patient records in a computer system from 2005. The coffee in the break room was terrible. An elderly patient named Mr. Wilson told me the same story about his grandchildren 3 times because his memory is failing. And I held a woman's hand while the doctor told her that her cancer had spread to her liver. As she spoke, her face changed, becoming more animated, more open. Damien listened, asking questions about the patients, the staff, the little moments. That made up her day. Before they knew it, 2 hours had passed. They'd moved from coffee to water, from sitting apart to sitting closer together, from awkward stillness to comfortable conversation punctuated by laughter. "I should go," Damien said finally, though he was reluctant to leave. "You must be tired after your shift." Zara nodded, walking him to the door. "Thank you for the ride. And for listening." Damien paused at the threshold. "Would you have dinner with me tomorrow night? Nothing fancy, just dinner." Zara bit her lip, clearly torn. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Why not?" Damien asked. "Because I might start to like you," she admitted, "and that would be complicated." The honesty in her eyes made his heart beat faster. "I'm not afraid of complicated." "You should be," Zara said softly. "Good night, Damien." As the door closed between them, Damien knew he wasn't giving up. Something was happening between them, something real, and he was determined to explore it, no matter how complicated. The next morning, Damien was in a meeting with his executive team when his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I get off at 5 today. If that dinner offer still stands, I know a good pizza place on 4th Street. Zara. His heart leapt. She must have gotten his number from his business card. He texted back immediately. "I'll pick you up at 5, looking forward to it." Rebecca, noticing his sudden smile, raised an eyebrow but said nothing. The pizza place Zara chose was nothing like the restaurants Damien usually frequented. It was small, noisy, and packed with people from all walks of life. The tables were too close together. The menus were laminated, and the only wine they served came in small bottles with screw tops. Damien loved it immediately. "Best pizza in the city," Zara said as they sat in a corner booth. "Don't let the decor fool you." She was wearing jeans and a simple blue blouse, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked beautiful and relaxed. "I trust your judgment," Damien replied, loosening his tie. He'd come straight from the office and felt overdressed in his suit. When the pizza arrived, a large with pepperoni and mushrooms, Damien had to admit it was delicious. He couldn't remember the last time he'd eaten with his hands in a public place or laughed so openly. "So tell me," Zara said, taking a sip of her soda, "what does Damien Westwood do for fun, besides rescuing women in the rain?" Damien chuckled. "Honestly, I work, I attend business functions, I play golf with other executives." "That sounds boring," Zara said bluntly. "It is," Damien admitted. "I didn't realize how boring until recently." "You need better hobbies," Zara declared. "What did you enjoy before you became Mr. Successful Businessman?" Damien thought for a moment. "I used to sail. My grandfather taught me when I was a kid. He had a small sailboat on the lake upstate." "Why did you stop?" "No time. And sailing alone isn't much fun." Zara wiped her hands on a napkin. "What else? There must be something you're passionate about besides hotels," Damien hesitated. "Promise not to laugh?" "No promises," Zara said with a grin. "I collect first edition books, classics mostly. I have a small library in my penthouse." Instead of laughing, Zara looked genuinely interested. "That's actually cool. What's your favorite?" "A first edition of The Great Gatsby. It was my father's. I love that book," Zara said. "Though Gatsby was a fool for Daisy. She wasn't worth it." "You don't believe in that kind of love? The all-consuming kind?" Damien asked. Zara's expression turned thoughtful. "I believe in love based on reality, not fantasy. Gatsby loved an idea of Daisy, not the real woman." Their conversation flowed easily from books to movies to childhood memories. Damien found himself talking about things he rarely discussed. His complicated relationship with his father, the pressure of taking over the family business, his secret desire to open a small boutique hotel instead of expanding the luxury chain. As they were finishing their meal, a young woman approached their table. "Zara, is that you?" The woman looked about Zara's age, well-dressed and polished. Zara tensed slightly. "Jenny, hi. I thought that was you. It's been forever." Jenny glanced curiously at Damien. "This is Damien," Zara said. "Damien, this is Jenny." Williams. We were in nursing school together. Damien stood to shake her hand. Nice to meet you. Jenny's eyes widened with recognition. Damien Westwood? Of Westwood Hotels? The same, he acknowledged. Jenny looked back and forth between them, clearly confused. Wow, Zara. Last I heard you were, well, having a rough time after your mom passed, and now you're dating Damien Westwood. We're just friends, Zara said quickly, her cheeks flushing. Right, Jenny said, clearly not believing it. Well, it was good seeing you. We should catch up sometime. After Jenny left, an awkward silence fell between them. She's going to tell everyone from school, Zara said finally. By tomorrow people will be saying I'm sleeping with a billionaire. Does that bother you? Damien asked. Yes, Zara admitted. Not because I care what they think, but because it's not like that between us. She paused. Is it? Damien met her gaze steadily. I don't know what this is between us, Zara. But I know it's not about money or status or sex. It's about connection. Zara nodded slowly. I feel it too, and it scares me. Why? Because people like you and people like me don't usually end up together. The power imbalance is too great. Damien reached across the table and took her hand. To his surprise, she didn't pull away. Then let's even the playing field, he said. Teach me about your world. I'll teach you about mine. No pressure, no expectations. Just two people getting to know each other. Zara looked at their joined hands. And if it doesn't work out? Then we'll both have learned something valuable, Damien said. But what if it does? A small smile appeared on Zara's face. You're used to getting what you want, aren't you? Not always, Damien replied. But when something matters, I don't give up easily. Outside the restaurant, the evening air was cool and fresh. They walked slowly toward Damien's car, neither wanting the night to end. There's a community health fair at the hospital this weekend, Zara said suddenly. We're providing free screenings for people who can't afford regular care, the kind of people I grew up with. Sounds important, Damien said. It is. We need volunteers. Zara looked at him challengingly. Want to even the playing field? Damien grinned. What time should I be there? 8 a.m. Wear comfortable shoes. Zara's eyes twinkled. No suits allowed. Yes, ma'am. When they reached her apartment building, Damien walked her to the door. They stood facing each other, the streetlight casting a soft glow on Zara's face. Thank you for tonight, Damien said. Best pizza I've ever had. Told you, Zara replied, with a smile. There was a moment of tension, both wanting more, both hesitant to take the next step. Finally, Damien leaned down and kissed her cheek, his lips lingering just long enough to feel her sharp intake of breath. Good night, Zara, he whispered. Good night, Damien, she replied, her voice slightly unsteady. As he drove home, Damien felt lighter than he had in years. Something was changing, not just between him and Zara, but inside himself. For the first time in his life, he wanted more than success and comfort. He wanted authenticity, connection, her. But the path forward was uncertain. Their worlds were colliding in ways neither of them could have predicted, and the ripple effects were just beginning. Saturday morning arrived, bright and clear. Damien woke early, feeling strangely nervous about the hospital health fair. He'd attended countless charity events as a donor, always in a suit, always safely separated from the actual work. Today would be different. Following Zara's instructions, he dressed in jeans, a casual button-down shirt and comfortable shoes. When he arrived at the hospital parking lot at 7:45 a.m., he spotted Zara immediately. She was helping set up tables. Her hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing hospital scrubs. You came, she said, looking pleased but surprised when she saw him. I said I would, Damien replied. Where do you need me? Zara handed him a volunteer t-shirt. Put this on. You'll be helping with registration. All day, Damien worked alongside hospital staff and volunteers, checking in patients, helping them fill out forms, directing them to the appropriate screening stations. It was exhausting in a way his regular work never was, constantly on his feet, dealing with people who were often anxious or confused, but he also found it unexpectedly rewarding. By mid-afternoon, he'd learned the names of the other volunteers, swapped jokes with the security guard, and found satisfaction in helping an elderly man who couldn't read the forms. During a brief break, Zara brought him a cup of water. "How are you holding up?" Damien took a grateful sip. "It's intense, but good. I see why you chose this field." Zara smiled. "You're a natural, actually. That family with the 4 kids, they were terrified until you made them laugh." "They reminded me of my housekeeper's family when I was growing up," Damien admitted. "Her youngest son was always hiding behind her legs." As the day went on, Damien caught glimpses of Zara in her element, gentle with the elderly, firm with children who wouldn't sit still, efficient and calm under pressure. She belonged here in a way that made his chest ache with admiration. By the time the fair ended at 6 p.m., Damien was exhausted but strangely satisfied. He helped break down tables and pack up supplies, working alongside the other volunteers, as if he'd always been one of them. "Thank you for your help today," Dr. Martin, the hospital administrator, said as they finished. "It's not often we get someone of your position volunteering." "It was my pleasure," Damien replied, and meant it. As the parking lot emptied, only Damien and Zara remained sitting on a bench near the entrance. "Admit it," Zara said, bumping his shoulder with hers. "You had fun," Damien laughed. "I'm not sure fun is the right word, but it felt good. Useful." "Welcome to my world," Zara said, her eyes warm. "Not glamorous, but real." Damien looked at her. Really looked at her. With her hair coming loose from her ponytail, no makeup, and tired eyes, she was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. Before he could overthink it, he leaned in and kissed her. Not on the cheek this time, but fully on the lips. To his relief and joy, she kissed him back, her hand coming up to rest on his chest. When they pulled apart, they were both breathing faster. "I've wanted to do that since the night we met," Damien admitted. Zara's eyes were serious. "This is crazy, you know. Us." "Maybe," Damien agreed, "but it doesn't feel crazy. It feels like the first thing that's made sense in a long time." As they sat together in the fading light, both knew they were crossing a line that would change everything. 2 worlds colliding, barriers breaking down. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. Little did they know that across town, forces were already aligning against them. Vanessa Collins sat in her luxurious apartment, scrolling through her phone. On the screen was a photo taken at the health fair. Damien Westwood in jeans and a volunteer t-shirt, looking at Zara with unmistakable affection. Vanessa's perfectly manicured finger hovered over the share button. If Damien wanted to throw away everything for some nobody, she would make sure he paid the price. With one click, their private connection would become public fodder. "Let's see how your charity romance survives the spotlight, Damien," she murmured, and pressed share. Damien woke to the insistent buzzing of his phone. Bleary-eyed, he reached for it and saw multiple missed calls from his assistant Rebecca, his publicist Martin, and several other members of his executive team. It was only 6:30 a.m. on Sunday, the morning after the hospital health fair. "What the hell?" he muttered, scrolling through a flurry of text messages. The most recent was from Rebecca. "Sir, you need to check social media. Vanessa posted photos of you and Ms. Monroe. The press is calling for comment." Fully awake now, Damien opened his social media app. There it was, a photo of him and Zara at the health fair. He was looking at her with undisguised affection, wearing the volunteer t-shirt. The caption read, "Breaking, billionaire Damien Westwood slumming it with hospital worker. Sources say he's been secretly dating this mystery woman for weeks. Trouble in paradise for one of New York's most eligible bachelors?" The post had thousands of comments and shares already. Damien felt a cold knot of anger form in his stomach. This was Vanessa's doing, her petty revenge for being rejected. His phone rang again. It was Martin, his publicist. "Damien, we need to get ahead of this," Martin said without preamble. "Who is this woman? How serious is it? I need to craft a statement." "Her name is Zara Monroe," Damien replied, trying to keep his voice calm. "She works at St. Martin's Hospital, and it's nobody's business how serious it is." "Everything you do is the public's business," Martin countered. "You're Damien Westwood. Your personal life affects stock prices." Damien ran a hand through his hair in frustration. Martin, I'm not discussing this now. No statements, no comments, just Mr. Westwood's personal life is private. This will blow up, Martin warned. At least let me... No, Damien interrupted firmly. I'll handle it my way. He ended the call and immediately dialed Zara's number. No answer. Damien checked the time again, 6:45 a.m. She was probably still asleep, unaware of the storm that was brewing. He decided to go to her apartment and warn her in person before she was blindsided. As he drove through the quiet Sunday morning streets, Damien tried to calm his racing thoughts. This wasn't the first time he'd been the subject of gossip. But it was the first time he cared this much about protecting someone else from the harsh spotlight that followed him everywhere. When he reached Zara's building, he buzzed her apartment repeatedly. Finally, her sleepy voice came through the intercom. "Who is it?" "It's Damien. I need to talk to you. It's important." A pause, then the door buzzed open. Damien took the stairs 2 at a time to the 3rd floor. Zara was waiting at her door in pajama pants and a t-shirt, her hair tousled from sleep. "What's wrong?" she asked, alarmed by his expression. "Can I come in?" Zara stepped aside, and Damien entered her apartment. He took a deep breath. "Vanessa posted photos of us from yesterday. They're all over social media." Zara's eyes widened. "What? Photos of what?" "Just us at the health fair. Me looking at you." But her caption makes it sound like some big scandal, like I'm slumming it with you. The words tasted bitter in his mouth. Zara sat down heavily on the sofa. "Why would she do that?" "Because I broke up with her when I realized how I felt about you." Damien sat beside her. "I'm sorry, Zara. This is exactly what you were afraid of, your life being disrupted because of me." Zara was quiet for a moment, processing. "So what happens now?" "The press will try to find out everything about you. They'll probably be waiting at the hospital when you go to work tomorrow." Damien rubbed his face. "They'll dig into your past. Talk to people who knew you. It's invasive and awful." Zara looked pale but determined. "I have nothing to hide. I'm not ashamed of my life." "Of course not," Damien agreed quickly. "But these people don't care about the truth. They want a story. The poor girl seducing the rich man, or the rich man slumming it for a thrill. They'll twist everything." Zara stood up and walked to the window, hugging herself. "I knew getting involved with you would be complicated, but I didn't expect this." Damien felt a pang of fear. Was she going to end things before they'd really begun? "We could just lie low for a while," he suggested. "It will blow over eventually." Zara turned to look at him, her expression unreadable. "Is that what you want? To hide until it blows over?" "No," Damien admitted. "I want to be with you publicly or privately. I don't care what people say, but I care how it affects you." Zara's phone chimed with a text message. She picked it up and frowned. "It's my co-worker, Lisa. She says, 'Is this you with Damien Westwood?' And there's a link." Zara looked up at Damien. "It's starting already." More texts began coming in, Zara's phone buzzing repeatedly. She turned it off with a frustrated sigh. "I need to think," she said. Damien nodded, respecting her need for space. "I understand. I should go." He stood, moving toward the door. "I'm sorry, Zara, this is my fault." "It's not your fault," Zara replied softly. "It's just reality." As Damien reached for the doorknob, Zara caught his arm. "Wait." Her eyes met his, filled with determination. "I'm not going to hide. I'm not ashamed of knowing you or caring about you." Relief washed over Damien. "So what do you want to do?" "Go about our lives normally," Zara said firmly. "Let them. Take their pictures and write their stories. Eventually they'll get bored and move on to someone else." Damien pulled her into his arms, hugging her tightly. "You're incredible, you know that?" Zara laughed against his chest. "I'm stubborn, that's what I am. I fought too hard to get where I am to start hiding now." When Damien left her apartment an hour later, he felt both worried and hopeful. Zara's strength continued to amaze him. But he knew from experience how brutal the media could be, and he feared for what she might face in the coming days. Monday morning was worse than either of them had anticipated. When Zara arrived at St. Martin's Hospital, 3 photographers were waiting at the staff entrance. They called her name and snapped photos as she hurried inside, head down. Inside it wasn't much better. Co-workers stared and whispered. Some were openly curious, asking how she'd met Damien Westwood. Others were coldly polite, clearly disapproving. By lunchtime, Zara was exhausted from the constant attention. She retreated to the break room, hoping for a moment of peace. Instead, she found Dr. Wilson, the head of oncology, waiting for her. "Zara, can we talk?" he asked, his expression serious. "Of course," she replied, her stomach tightening with anxiety. "I've received calls from several reporters this morning," Dr. Wilson said. "They're asking about you and your relationship with Damien Westwood." "I'm sorry about that," Zara said. "I didn't expect." Dr. Wilson held up a hand. "You have nothing to apologize for. Your personal life is your business. But I need to know if this is going to be an ongoing distraction. Our patients deserve privacy and calm." "I understand," Zara said. "I can assure you it won't affect my work." Dr. Wilson nodded. "I believe you. Just be prepared. People will have opinions about your relationship, not all of them kind." As if to prove his point, Nurse Collins walked into the break room, giving Zara a disapproving look. "Well, well," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Looks like someone found a shortcut to success. Must be nice to have a billionaire boyfriend." Zara felt her cheeks burn, but she kept her voice steady. "My personal life has nothing to do with my work, Nurse Collins." "We'll see about that," the older woman replied skeptically. The rest of Zara's day continued in much the same way, a mixture of curious questions, veiled insults, and the constant feeling of being watched. By the time her shift ended, she was emotionally drained. She texted Damien, "Tough day, how was yours?" His reply came immediately. "Worse. Board called emergency meeting about public image concerns. I told them my personal life wasn't their business. Can I see you tonight?" Zara hesitated. Part of her wanted to retreat, to process everything, alone. But another part, a stronger part, wanted Damien's comforting presence. "Yes. My place at 7? When Damien arrived at her apartment that evening, he looked as exhausted as she felt. His usually immaculate suit was slightly rumpled, and there were shadows under his eyes. "That bad, huh?" Zara asked as he entered. "Let's just say the board is concerned about the company's image being linked to someone who isn't from our usual circles," Damien said with disgust. "Old men with outdated ideas." Zara busied herself making tea, trying not to show how much those words hurt. "They don't think I'm good enough for you." Damien came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Then they're fools. You're worth 10 of those people." Zara leaned back against him, drawing comfort from his warmth. "My day wasn't great either. Lots of stares, whispers. One nurse basically called me a gold digger to my face." Damien tensed. "Who? I'll have them—" "No." Zara turned to face him. "That's exactly what we can't do. You can't fight my battles for me. It would only prove them right, that I'm using you for your money and influence." Damien sighed, knowing she was right. "I hate that you're going through this because of me." Zara took his face in her hands. "It's not because of you. It's because of a society that can't understand how two people from different backgrounds could genuinely care for each other." Damien kissed her, then gently at first, then with increasing passion. Zara responded eagerly, the stress of the day melting away in his embrace. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Damien rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me. We'll face this together." "I'm not going anywhere," Zara promised. The next few weeks settled into a strange new normal. The media interest gradually decreased, though they still occasionally found photographers waiting outside the hospital or Damien's office. Zara's co-workers grew accustomed to her relationship with Damien, and most of the open hostility faded. Damien and Zara spent most evenings together, either at her small apartment or his penthouse. They were getting to know each other deeply, beyond the initial attraction and novelty of their differences. Damien learned about Zara's childhood in a working-class neighborhood, her struggles to put herself through school, her dream of eventually becoming a nurse practitioner. Zara discovered Damien's complicated relationship with his absent father. his genuine passion for hospitality, and his secret desire to open a small boutique hotel that focused on personal service rather than luxury. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of Damien's penthouse watching the sunset, Zara brought up something that had been on her mind. "I saw an article today calling me Damien Westwood's rags-to-riches girlfriend." Her voice was carefully neutral. "They made it sound like I'd won the lottery by meeting you." Damien took her hand. "Does that bother you?" "Yes," Zara admitted. "Not because I care what they think, but because it's not who I am. I've worked for everything I have. Small as it may be, it's mine." "I know that," Damien said. "It's one of the things I admire most about you." Zara looked at him, her eyes serious. "I need you to understand something, Damien. I'm happy with my life, my job, my tiny apartment, my second-hand furniture. I'm proud of what I've built after losing everything. I don't want or need to be saved from it." Damien nodded slowly. "I understand. But I want to share my life with you too. Not to change you, but because I want you in all parts of my world." "And I want that too," Zara replied. "But on equal terms. I need to stand on my own feet." Damien had never respected anyone more than he did Zara in that moment. "What if we compromise? You keep your independence, your job, your apartment. But you also spend time in my world, not as someone I'm rescuing, but as my partner." Zara smiled, the tension leaving her shoulders. "I think I can live with that." The next day, Damien invited Zara to accompany him to an important business dinner. It would be their first official appearance together in his social circle. "Are you sure about this?" Zara asked as she got ready in her apartment. "Your business associates might not approve." "Then they're not people I want to do business with," Damien said simply. Zara wore her best dress, a simple black one she'd bought on sale years ago for job interviews. It was modest and elegant, if not designer. She did her own hair and makeup, refusing Damien's offer to hire professionals. "This is me," she told him. "If they're going to judge me, let them judge the real me." When they arrived at the upscale restaurant, heads turned. Damien greeted his business associates with his usual confidence, his hand firmly at the small of Zara's back. "Gentlemen, I'd like you to meet Zara Monroe," he said, pride evident in his voice. The men were polite, if somewhat reserved. Their wives were less welcoming, examining Zara with critical eyes that took in her simple dress and lack of expensive jewelry. "So, Zara," said Mrs. Henderson, wife of Damien's largest investor, "what exactly do you do?" "I work in the oncology department at St. Martin's Hospital," Zara replied calmly. "How interesting," Mrs. Henderson said with a tight smile. "A nurse, then?" "Administrative." "The assistant," Zara corrected, "though I was studying nursing before my mother became ill." "How noble," Mrs. Henderson replied, her tone suggesting the opposite. She turned to the other women. "Isn't it wonderful that there are still people willing to do such necessary work?" Damien tensed beside her, but Zara squeezed his hand under the table. She could handle this. "I think all work that helps others is necessary," Zara said pleasantly, "whether it's cleaning hospital rooms or running a business. Don't you agree?" Mrs. Henderson looked taken aback, clearly not expecting such a composed response. Throughout dinner, similar subtle jabs continued. Zara fielded each one with grace, refusing to be intimidated. Damien watched her with growing admiration, occasionally jumping in to redirect the conversation when it became too pointed. By the end of the evening, several of the men seemed genuinely impressed by Zara's intelligence and poise. Even some of the women had softened slightly. It wasn't acceptance exactly, but perhaps the beginning of respect. As they drove home, Damien reached for Zara's hand. "You were amazing tonight. I'm sorry about some of their comments." Zara smiled tiredly. "I expected worse, honestly." "They were just protecting their territory." "Their territory?" Damien asked. "You," Zara explained. "You're part of their world. I'm an outsider, a threat to their social order. They needed to put me in my place." Damien frowned. "That's ridiculous." "That's human nature," Zara countered. "People fear what disrupts their comfortable worldview." Damien brought her hand to his lips. "Well, if tonight was a test, you passed with flying colors. Even Henderson seemed impressed by the end, and he doesn't impress easily." Zara leaned her head against his shoulder. Good, because I have a feeling this was just the beginning. She was right. The following weeks brought a series of social events where Zara was subjected to careful scrutiny by Damien's peers. Each time she held her own, never pretending to be something she wasn't, but never apologizing for her background either. Gradually, a few of Damien's more open-minded friends began to genuinely like Zara. They admired her candor and found her perspective refreshing in a world of superficial pleasantries. Meanwhile, Damien was making efforts to understand Zara's world better. He continued volunteering at the hospital once a month. He met her few close friends, mostly former classmates and co-workers, and joined them for trivia nights at a local bar. He even helped her neighbor, Mrs. Santiago, carry groceries up the 3 flights of stairs when the elevator was broken, bit by bit. They were building a relationship that bridged their 2 worlds. It wasn't always easy, but it felt real in a way neither had experienced before. One rainy evening in October, about 3 months after they'd first met, Zara received unexpected news at work. Dr. Wilson called her into his office at the end of her shift. "Zara, I wanted to talk to you about your future here," he began. Zara's heart sank. Despite her best efforts, had the attention surrounding her relationship with Damien finally caused problems? "You've been an exemplary employee," Dr. Wilson continued. "Your work ethic, compassion, and organizational skills have not gone unnoticed." "Thank you," Zara said cautiously. "I know you were studying nursing before you had to withdraw. Have you considered going back to school?" Zara sighed. "Of course, it's still my dream, but financially it's just not possible right now." Dr. Wilson smiled. "What if it was? St. Martin's has a scholarship program for promising employees who want to further their education while continuing to work here part-time. I've recommended you for consideration." Zara's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Very. The committee meets next week. If approved, you could start classes in January." Zara felt tears prick her eyes. This was everything she'd been working toward. "I don't know what to say. Thank you for the recommendation." "You've earned it," Dr. Wilson said. "And, Zara, this has nothing to do with who you're dating. I submitted your name before those photos ever hit social media. This is about your merit, nothing else." Those words meant almost as much as the recommendation itself. Zara left the hospital that evening feeling like she was floating. She couldn't wait to tell Damien. They had plans to meet at her apartment. For dinner, she was cooking something she'd come to enjoy doing for him. She stopped at the market to pick up ingredients, splurging on a nice bottle of wine to celebrate. When she arrived home, balancing grocery bags, she was surprised to find Damien already waiting outside her building. But something was wrong. His face was tense, his posture rigid. "What happened?" she asked, immediately concerned. "Let's go inside," Damien said, taking the bags from her. Once in her apartment, Damien set the groceries down and turned to face her. "I received a call from Vanessa today." Zara stiffened. Vanessa hadn't bothered them since posting those initial photos. "What did she want?" "To warn me," Damien said grimly. "She claims she was protecting me, but I know it was just another attempt to cause trouble." "Warn you about what?" Zara asked, a sense of foreboding washing over her. Damien hesitated. "She hired a private investigator to look into your past. She says there are things I don't know about you." Zara felt the blood drain from her face. "What things?" "I didn't let her tell me," Damien said quickly. "I told her I wasn't interested in her gossip or rumors. That I trust you." Zara turned away, her earlier joy evaporating. She walked to the window, trying to collect her thoughts. "Zara?" Damien approached her cautiously. "Whatever it is, it doesn't matter to me." Zara took a deep breath. "It might," she said quietly. "There are things about my past I haven't told you." Damien's expression remained open, patient. "Then tell me now." Zara nodded, gesturing for him to sit on the sofa. This was a conversation she'd been dreading, but perhaps it was time. "After my mom got sick," she began, "I was desperate. The medical bills were piling up, and I couldn't work full-time while caring for her. I started—" She paused, the words sticking in her throat. "I started dancing." At a club downtown. Damien's expression didn't change. Okay? Not just dancing, Zara clarified, needing him to understand. I was a stripper, Damien. For 8 months while my mom was going through her worst treatments. I see, Damien said carefully. And that's what Vanessa thinks will make me leave you. There's more, Zara continued, unable to meet his eyes. One of the club's regular clients was a man named James Carter. He was wealthy, older. He offered to help with my mom's medical bills if I would be with him exclusively. Understanding dawned in Damien's eyes. You were his mistress. Zara nodded, tears threatening. For 6 months, until my mom died. He paid for the best care she could get. I'm not proud of it, but I would do it again to give her those extra months of comfort. Damien was quiet for a long moment. Zara couldn't read his expression, and the silence was unbearable. Say something, she whispered. Did you love him? Damien asked. No, Zara replied honestly. It was a transaction. He knew that. When my mom died, I ended it. He was actually decent about it, all things considered. Damien crossed the room to her, taking her hands in his. Zara, look at me. She raised her eyes reluctantly, expecting to see disgust or disappointment. Instead, she saw only compassion. You did what you had to do to care for your mother, Damien said softly. How could I possibly judge you for that? A sob escaped Zara's throat, and Damien pulled her into his arms. She cried against his chest, years of shame and guilt pouring out of her. I was afraid to tell you, she admitted between tears. Afraid you would look at me differently. I do look at you differently, Damien said, lifting her chin. With even more respect than before. Do you know how much courage it takes to sacrifice your pride for someone you love? Zara shook her head, overwhelmed by his response. More courage than I've ever had to show, Damien continued. My whole life has been easy, Zara. Protected. I've never had to make the kind of choices you've had to make. He wiped away her tears with his thumbs. If Vanessa thinks this will drive me away, she doesn't know me at all. And she certainly doesn't. Understand how much I love you. Zara froze, her eyes wide. What did you say? Damien smiled, his eyes soft. I said I love you, Zara Monroe. All of you. Your past, your present, and if you'll let me, your future. Fresh tears filled Zara's eyes, but these were different. I love you too, she whispered. I think I have since that night, in the rain. Damien kissed her then, pouring all his feelings into it. Zara clung to him, hardly able to believe this man, this wonderful, understanding man, could love her so completely, so unconditionally. When they finally pulled apart, Damien rested his forehead against hers. No more secrets between us, okay? Nothing Vanessa or anyone else digs up will change how I feel about you. Zara nodded, her heart lighter than it had been in years. I almost forgot. I have good news too. Dr. Wilson recommended me for the hospital's employee scholarship program. I might be able to go back to nursing school. Damien's face lit up. Zara, that's incredible. When did you find out? Just before I came home. I was going to surprise you with a celebration dinner. Damien hugged her tightly. We definitely need to celebrate. This is what you've been working toward. As they moved to the kitchen to prepare dinner together, Zara felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. Her past was finally in the open, and Damien still loved her. Her future, a future that had once seemed so hopeless, was now full of possibilities. But across town, Vanessa Collins was not ready to give up. When her call to Damien had failed to produce the desired effect, she'd moved to Plan B. Now she sat in an upscale restaurant across from James Carter, the man from Zara's past. So you see, Mr. Carter, Vanessa was saying, we have a mutual interest in separating Damien Westwood from this woman. Carter swirled his scotch thoughtfully. I haven't seen or spoken to Zara in over a year. Why would I get involved now? Because, Vanessa leaned forward with a calculating smile, I'm willing to make it very worth your while. And I suspect you still have certain feelings for her. Carter's eyes narrowed. What exactly are you proposing? Nothing complicated, Vanessa replied smoothly. Just a little reunion that Damien happens to witness. Plant some seeds of doubt. After all, someone with Zara's history, can she really be trusted? Back in Zara's apartment, oblivious to the scheme being hatched against them, Damien and Zara stood side by side in her tiny kitchen, chopping vegetables and talking about the future. Their future. Together. They had weathered their first real storm and emerged stronger. But the clear skies wouldn't last long. The biggest challenge to their relationship was still to come, a challenge that would test the very foundation of trust they had just rebuilt. November brought cooler temperatures to the city and a sense of calm to Damien and Zara's relationship. After her revelation about her past, they had grown even closer. Damien continued to impress Zara with his understanding and lack of judgment, while Zara's strength and integrity only deepened Damien's admiration for her. The media attention had largely died down. There were still occasional photos in the tabloids, but the novelty of their relationship had worn off. Even Damien's business associates had begun to accept Zara, some grudgingly, others with genuine respect. Best of all, Zara had received official notice that she'd been granted the hospital scholarship. She would begin nursing classes in January, working part-time at St. Martin's while completing her degree. "We should celebrate properly," Damien said one evening, as they walked hand in hand through the park near his penthouse. The autumn leaves crunched beneath their feet, and Zara was bundled in a warm coat he'd given her, despite her initial protests about the expensive gift. "We already celebrated," Zara reminded him with a smile. "That night, I told you about the scholarship." "That was a private celebration," Damien replied. "I want to take you somewhere special. A weekend away, maybe?" Zara looked skeptical. "I don't know, Damien. I have a lot to do before classes start, and I've picked up extra shifts to save money." "You don't need to save money," Damien said automatically, then caught himself. "I mean, the scholarship covers tuition, right?" "Tuition, yes, but there are books, supplies, and I'll be working fewer hours, which means less pay." Zara squeezed his hand. "I appreciate the offer, but I need to be practical." Damien nodded, though he was frustrated. He had more money than he could spend in a lifetime, yet Zara insisted on managing on her own. Her independence was one of the things he loved about her, but sometimes it created a barrier between them. "What if we compromise?" he suggested. "One night away, not a whole weekend. Somewhere not too far or extravagant." Zara's expression softened. "That sounds nice. I could probably get someone to cover my Sunday shift." "Perfect," Damien said, already mentally planning. "I know just the place." The following Saturday, Damien picked Zara up at her apartment. He'd chosen a small boutique hotel about an hour outside the city, elegant but not ostentatious, with a renowned restaurant and beautiful grounds for walking. "This is lovely," Zara said as they checked in. The lobby was warm and inviting, with a crackling fireplace and comfortable seating areas. It was upscale without being intimidating. "I thought you'd like it," Damien replied, pleased by her reaction. "It's more personal than the larger luxury hotels." Their room was a corner suite with large windows overlooking the hotel's gardens. A bottle of champagne waited on ice, along with a bouquet of flowers. "You didn't have to do all this," Zara said, but her smile betrayed her delight. "I wanted to," Damien replied simply. He took her in his arms. "You deserve to celebrate your achievement. I'm so proud of you, Zara." They spent the afternoon exploring the hotel grounds, walking through the gardens and along a small stream that ran through the property. The cool November air brought color to Zara's cheeks, and Damien couldn't help but think how beautiful she looked, relaxed and happy in a way he rarely saw her. That evening, they dressed for dinner. Damien wore a suit, while Zara put on a burgundy dress she'd bought for the occasion, her one splurge to celebrate her scholarship. "You look stunning," Damien said when she emerged from the bathroom. "So do you," Zara replied, straightening his tie with a smile. The hotel's restaurant was intimate and candlelit. They were seated at a corner table with a view of the gardens, now illuminated by tasteful outdoor lighting. "This is perfect," Zara said, looking around appreciatively. "Not too fancy, but special." Damien reached across the table to take her hand. "I'm learning," he said with a smile, As they enjoyed their meal, they talked about the future, Zara's upcoming classes, a new hotel Damien was considering opening, the holidays that were approaching. "Will you come to the hospital Christmas party with me?" Zara asked. "It's nothing glamorous, just a potluck in the staff room, but it's fun." "I'd love to," Damien replied sincerely. "What should I bring?" "You cook?" Zara asked skeptically. Damien laughed. "No, but I can learn, or buy something and pretend I made it." "Honesty, Damien," Zara reminded him with a grin. "Always honesty between us." Their conversation was interrupted when Damien noticed someone approaching their table. He looked up, expecting a waiter, but instead found himself staring at an unfamiliar man in an expensive suit. "Zara," the man said, his voice smooth and cultured. "What a pleasant surprise." Zara froze, the color draining from her face as she recognized the voice. Slowly, she turned. "James." Damien instantly understood. This was James Carter, the man from Zara's past, the one who had paid her mother's medical bills in exchange for Zara's companionship. "It's been a while," James said, his eyes moving between Zara and Damien. "You're looking well." "Thank you," Zara replied, her voice tight. "So are you." An awkward silence fell. Damien stood and extended his hand. "Damien Westwood." James shook. A small smile playing at his lips. "James Carter, Zara and I are old friends." The emphasis he placed on friends made Damien's jaw clench, but he kept his composure. "Any friend of Zara's," he said neutrally. "Are you staying at the hotel?" James asked, directing the question to Zara. "Just for the night," she replied. "It's a celebration. I received a scholarship to complete my nursing degree." "Congratulations," James said, and he seemed genuinely pleased for her. "That's wonderful news. Your mother would have been proud." Zara's eyes softened slightly at the mention of her mother. "Thank you." "Well, I won't interrupt your dinner any longer," James said. "It was good to see you, Zara." He turned to Damien. "Mr. Westwood, pleasure to meet you." As James walked away, Damien sat back down, studying Zara's face. She looked shaken. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. Zara nodded, though she was clearly rattled. "What are the odds?" she said, trying to laugh it off. "Of all the hotels outside the city. Quite a coincidence," Damien agreed, though something about the encounter felt off to him. James hadn't seemed surprised to see them. They tried to resume their dinner, but the mood had shifted. Zara was quieter, her earlier happiness dimmed by the unexpected meeting. Damien did his best to cheer her up, but he could see she was troubled. Later, back in their room, Zara sat on the edge of the bed, lost in thought. "Talk to me," Damien said, sitting beside her. "What are you thinking?" Zara sighed. Seeing James was unsettling. "It brought back memories I'd rather not revisit." "I understand," Damien said, though part of him wondered if there was more to it. "Was there something between you and him that you haven't told me?" Zara looked, startled by the question. "No, I told you everything. It was a transaction, not a relationship. But he knew your mother," Damien pointed out. "He seemed to genuinely care about you getting your degree." "James isn't a monster," Zara explained. "He could be kind, in his way. He visited my mother in the hospital a few times, brought her flowers." She shook her head. "But it doesn't change what our arrangement was." Damien nodded, feeling slightly ashamed of his brief moment of doubt. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to question you." Zara took his hand. "It's okay. It was weird for me too." She managed a small smile. "Let's not let this ruin our night. It's supposed to be a celebration, remember?" Damien pulled her into his arms, kissing her softly. "Nothing could ruin being here with you." The next morning at breakfast, Damien excused himself to take a phone call from his assistant Rebecca. It was unusual for her to call on a Sunday, but she said it was urgent. "What is it, Rebecca?" Damien asked when he reached a quiet corner of the hotel lobby. "Sir, I thought you should know. Vanessa Collins has been making some calls. To the board members, to some of your business associates. She's spreading rumors about Ms. Monroe." Damien's hand tightened on the phone. "What kind of rumors?" "About her past, sir. Specifically about her relationship with a man named James Carter." The pieces suddenly clicked into place. James's appearance at the hotel hadn't been a coincidence at all. Vanessa must have arranged it. Rebecca, I need you to find out everything you can about James Carter, and I want a meeting with Vanessa. Tomorrow, my office, 9 a.m. Yes, sir. When Damien returned to the breakfast table, he tried to hide his anger. He didn't want to spoil what was left of their getaway with this revelation. There would be time to deal with Vanessa tomorrow. Everything okay? Zara asked, noticing his tension. Just a small work issue, Damien lied, hating the deception but not wanting to upset her. Nothing that can't wait until tomorrow. They checked out of the hotel shortly after breakfast. The drive back to the city was quiet, both lost in their own thoughts. Zara was still processing the unexpected encounter with James, while Damien was formulating a plan to confront Vanessa. When they reached Zara's apartment, Damien walked her to the door. I have an early meeting tomorrow, he said, but I'll call you afterward. Zara nodded, looking tired. Thank you for the lovely weekend. Despite the interruption, Damien kissed her goodbye, his heart heavy with the knowledge of what Vanessa was doing behind the scenes. He would protect Zara from this if he could, but he knew she valued honesty above all else. Eventually, he would have to tell her. Monday morning, Damien arrived at his office early. Rebecca was waiting with a folder of information. What did you find? Damien asked. James Carter is a real estate developer, very successful, moves in the same social circles as you. He's on the board of several charities, divorced 3 times. No children. Rebecca paused. There's more. He had lunch with Vanessa Collins last week at the Gramercy Hotel. Damien nodded grimly. So it was a setup. It appears so, sir. At precisely 9 a.m., Vanessa strutted into Damien's office, impeccably dressed as always. Damien, darling, she began, as if nothing had changed between them. Sit down, Vanessa, Damien said coldly. Her smile faltered slightly, but she complied. What's this about? Your assistant made it sound urgent. It is, Damien said, his voice hard. I want you to stop spreading rumors about Zara. I want you to stop interfering in my life. And I especially want you to stop manipulating people like James Carter into accidentally running into us. Vanessa's expression shifted from fake innocence to defiance. So you met James, good. Then you know what kind of woman you're involved with. Yes, I do, Damien replied evenly. A woman of incredible strength and integrity. A woman who made difficult choices to care for her dying mother. A woman I love. Vanessa laughed, but it was brittle. Love? Please, Damien. She was a stripper and a kept woman. What does that say about her character? Damien leaned forward, his eyes cold. It says she's willing to sacrifice for those she loves. What does your behavior say about yours, Vanessa? Vanessa's face flushed with anger. You're making a mistake. People are talking, Damien. Your reputation. I don't care, Damien interrupted. And if you continue this campaign against Zara, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who Vanessa Collins really is. A vindictive, manipulative woman who tried to destroy someone simply because she couldn't have what she wanted. Vanessa stood up, trembling with rage. You'll regret this, Damien. That woman isn't worth it. She's worth everything, Damien replied simply. Now get out of my office and stay away from both of us. After Vanessa stormed out, Damien sat heavily in his chair. He knew this wasn't over. Vanessa wasn't the type to accept defeat gracefully, and he still needed to tell Zara about Vanessa's involvement with James. That evening, Damien went to Zara's apartment. She greeted him with a kiss, but pulled back when she saw his serious expression. What's wrong? She asked, leading him to the sofa. Damien took her hands in his. There's something I need to tell you about James Carter's appearance at the hotel. It wasn't a coincidence. Zara's brow furrowed. What do you mean? Vanessa arranged it, Damien explained. She's been spreading rumors about your past, and she enlisted James to create doubt between us. Zara was quiet for a moment, absorbing this information. How do you know this? Rebecca found out Vanessa and James had lunch last week. And this morning I confronted Vanessa about it. You confronted her? Zara pulled her hands away. Without telling me first? Damien realized his mistake. I was trying to protect you. I don't need protection, Damien, Zara said, standing up. I need honesty. I need a partner who talks to me before taking action that affects both of us. You're right, Damien admitted. I should have told you immediately. I'm sorry. Zara paced the small living room. This is exactly what I was afraid of when we started this relationship. The gossip, the scheming, the social politics. It's exhausting. I know, Damien said quietly, but we can handle it together. Zara stopped pacing and looked at him. Can we? Every time I think we're past it, something else happens. Your world keeps trying to pull us apart. It's not my world anymore, Damien said firmly. It's our world, the one we're building together. Zara's expression softened. I want to believe that's possible. It is, Damien insisted, standing to join her. I've been thinking a lot lately about what I want, really want, out of life, and it's not what I thought it was 6 months ago. What do you mean? Zara asked. I mean, I'm tired of running hotels that cater to people who care more about status than substance. I'm tired of board meetings where profit margins are the only measure of success. Damien took her hands again. I want something more meaningful. Like what? Like that boutique hotel idea I mentioned. Something smaller, more personal. A place where people feel genuinely welcomed, not just served. He smiled. A place where a brilliant nurse could maybe run a wellness program someday. Zara's eyes widened. You're serious? Completely, Damien confirmed. I've already started looking at properties. There's one upstate, near that lake, where my grandfather taught me to sail. It's an old inn that needs renovation, but it has potential. That's a big change, Zara said cautiously. Are you sure it's what you want? I've never been more sure of anything, Damien replied. Except how I feel about you. Zara studied his face, searching for any sign of doubt. Finding none, she smiled slowly. Tell me more about this inn. Over the next few hours, Damien shared his vision for the boutique hotel, a place that would combine luxury with genuine warmth, where guests would feel like part of a community, not just customers. Zara listened, asking thoughtful questions and offering suggestions that Damien hadn't considered. You know, Zara said as their conversation wound down, this actually sounds like something I could be part of without feeling like I'm living in your shadow. That's the idea, Damien replied. Equal partners building something meaningful together. Zara leaned against him, her earlier anger forgotten. I like the sound of that. The following week, Damien and Zara drove upstate to look at the property. The old lakeside inn was situated on several acres of wooded land with a beautiful view of the lake. The building itself needed work. The rooms were outdated, the plumbing temperamental, and the kitchen barely functional. But the bones were good, and the location was perfect. It's perfect, isn't it? Damien said as they walked the grounds, fallen leaves crunching beneath their feet. It needs a lot of work, Zara cautioned, ever practical. But yes, it's beautiful. I'm making an offer today, Damien decided. If all goes well, renovation could start in January. That's fast, Zara said, surprised. I've learned not to wait for what I want, Damien replied, looking at her meaningfully. Back in the city, Damien's decision to buy the Lakeside Inn and step back from the Westwood hotel chain caused quite a stir. The board was upset, his father disappointed, and his social circle baffled. But for the first time in his life, Damien didn't care what others thought. He had found something worth pursuing, a vision of his own, and a woman he loved who shared it. December arrived, bringing cold weather and holiday preparations. As promised, Damien attended the hospital Christmas party with Zara. He brought a homemade, though admittedly imperfect, batch of cookies, having taken a baking class just for the occasion. Zara's co-workers, who had initially been suspicious of him, now treated him with warmth, especially after seeing how happy he made Zara. They like you, Zara observed as they helped clean up after the party. They like my cookies, Damien joked, although I'm pretty sure Dr. Wilson was just being polite when he asked for the recipe. Zara laughed. They like you because they see what I see, a good man who values substance over appearance. Christmas Eve found them at Damien's penthouse, decorating a tree together. Damien had suggested they spend the holiday at a luxury resort, but Zara had countered with a simpler plan. A quiet Christmas at home, just the two of them. My mum and I always made a big deal out of Christmas Eve, Zara explained as she hung ornaments on the tree. We didn't have much, but we had traditions. Hot chocolate, Christmas movies, opening one present early. That sounds perfect, Damien said, watching her with a soft smile. What movie should we watch first? It's a Wonderful Life, Zara replied without hesitation. Mom's favorite. As they settled on the sofa with mugs of hot chocolate, the tree lights twinkling in the background, Damien felt a sense of peace he'd never experienced before. This simple, quiet moment was what he'd been searching for his entire life, without knowing it. I have something for you, he said during a break in the movie. Your early Christmas present. Zara looked curious as he handed her a small, neatly wrapped box. You didn't have to get me anything expensive, she said cautiously. Just open it, Damien urged. Inside the box was a key on a simple silver keychain. Zara looked up, confused. A key? To the Lakeside Inn, Damien explained. The offer was accepted yesterday. We close in January and renovations start in February. That's wonderful, Zara exclaimed. But why give me a key? Damien took her hands in his. Because I want it to be ours, not just mine. I've set up the purchase so that we're equal owners. Zara's eyes widened in shock. Damien, I can't accept that. The property must cost... It's not about the money, Damien interrupted gently. It's about building a future together, a real partnership. Tears filled Zara's eyes. But I can't contribute financially. Not equally. You'll contribute in other ways, Damien said. Your vision, your compassion, your understanding of what makes people feel truly cared for, that's worth more than money. Zara was silent for a long moment, clearly struggling with the magnitude of the gift. This is too much, she whispered. It's not enough, Damien countered. He reached into his pocket and pulled out another small box. There's one more thing. Zara's breath caught as he opened the box to reveal a simple but elegant diamond ring. Damien, she breathed. I know it's only been a few months, he said, his voice thick with emotion, but I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I love you, Zara. I love your strength, your integrity, your heart. I love the way you challenge me to be better, to see the world differently. He slid off the sofa, kneeling before her. Zara Monroe, will you marry me? Will you build this new life with me as my equal, my partner, my love? Tears streamed down Zara's face. For a moment she couldn't speak. Then, slowly, she nodded. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Damien slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into his arms, kissing her with all the love and hope he felt for their future. Later, as they lay tangled together in Damien's bed, Zara traced patterns on his chest. Do you think we're crazy? She asked. Getting engaged after only a few months, starting a whole new business together? Probably, Damien admitted with a chuckle. But the best kind of crazy. People will talk, Zara said, but there was no real concern in her voice. Let them, Damien replied. We know what's real. The new year brought a flurry of activity. Damien officially stepped down as CEO of Westwood Hotels, though he retained a seat on the board. Zara began her nursing classes while continuing to work part-time at the hospital. Together they spent weekends at the Lakeside Inn, planning renovations and dreaming of its future. There were challenges, of course. Damien's father initially refused to attend their engagement party, though he eventually came around after a heart-to-heart conversation with his son. Some of Damien's old friends drifted away, uncomfortable with his new direction in life, and Vanessa made one last attempt to cause trouble by selling her story to a tabloid, though the public had largely lost interest in the novelty of their relationship. But for every setback, there were multiple joys. The day Zara aced her first nursing exam, the afternoon they stood together watching construction begin on the new wing of the inn, the evening they hosted their first dinner party in their new home, a compromise between Damien's desire for luxury and Zara's preference for simplicity. 6 months after Damien's proposal, on a perfect summer day, they were married on the grounds of the Lakeside Inn. It wasn't the lavish society wedding that might have been expected of Damien Westwood. Instead, it was intimate and meaningful, with only their closest friends and family in attendance. Zara wore a simple white dress, her dark hair adorned with wildflowers. Damien wore a light suit, no tie. They wrote their own vows, promises not only of love but of equality, respect and patience. Dr. Wilson, who had become a mentor to Zara, walked her down the aisle. Damien's father, who had finally come to appreciate the remarkable woman his son had chosen, beamed with pride from the front row. After the ceremony, as the sun began to set over the lake, Damien and Zara slipped away from the reception for a quiet moment alone. "Happy?" Damien asked, holding her close. "Beyond happy," Zara replied, her eyes shining. "I never thought this would be my life." "Nor I," Damien admitted, "but it's better than anything I could have imagined." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the sun's reflection dance on the water. Two people from different worlds who had found in each other something unexpected and precious, a love that transcended appearances and expectations, a love built on understanding, respect, and the courage to choose a different path. "Ready to go back?" Damien asked eventually, kissing her forehead. Zara nodded, taking his hand. "Ready for everything." Hand in hand, they walked back toward the sounds of music and laughter, toward their guests, toward their future, not as a billionaire and a former homeless woman, but simply as Damien and Zara, two people who had found in each other what they'd both been searching for, a love that saw beyond appearances to the truth of who they really were. 3 years later, the Lakeside Inn and Wellness Retreat was thriving. Under Damien and Zara's joint leadership, it had become known not just for its beautiful setting and comfortable accommodations, but for its unique approach to hospitality, one that prioritized genuine connection and well-being. Zara, now a registered nurse, ran the wellness center, combining traditional medicine with holistic approaches. Damien managed the business side while still finding time to teach sailing to interested guests. Together, they had created something neither could have accomplished alone, a place where people from all walks of life felt genuinely welcomed and cared for. On a warm spring evening, they sat on the dock, watching the sunset. Zara leaned against Damien's shoulder, their hands intertwined. Nearby, in a portable bassinet, their 6-month-old daughter Eleanor slept peacefully, named after Zara's mother. "Did you ever imagine this?" Zara asked softly. "That night in the rain when you offered me shelter?" Damien smiled, kissing the top of her head. "Not in my wildest dreams, but I'm grateful every day for whatever made me stop and notice you. We've come a long way from that night," Zara mused. "Both of us." "Together," Damien added. "That's the important part." As the last rays of sunlight glinted off the water, they sat in comfortable silence, content in the knowledge that they had found in each other not just love, but a true partnership, one built on seeing beyond appearances to the heart of what truly matters. The end.